Unit 4. It's all about how cells communicate and how the cell cycle keeps life going. By the end of this lesson, you'll understand why cells talk to each other, how they send messages, and what happens when things go wrong. So here are 3 main takeaways. Number 1, cells communicate using chemical signals. Number 2, feedback helps keep balance. That's homeostasis. And number 3, the cell cycle keeps life continuous by making sure cells grow and divide properly. Cells don't just flow around doing random stuff. They talk to each other to coordinate things like growth, defense, and repair. They send off chemical messages like hormones or electrical messages like nerve impulses. This communication keeps multicellular organisms like us organized and balanced. There are 3 types of cell signaling. First is direct contact, where cells literally touch like immune cells or through tiny channels called plasmodesmata in plants. Second, local signaling, short distance communication like neurotransmitters between nerve cells. And third, long distance signaling, which uses hormones that travel through the bloodstream. When a signal reaches a cell, it goes through 3 main steps: reception, transduction, and response. Reception means the signal, called a ligand, bonds to a receptor. Transduction is when the message is relayed inside the cell through a series of proteins. And response is when the cell actually does something, like making a protein or divide. Think of receptors as locks and ligands as keys. When the right key fits into the lock, the receptor changes shape, and that shape change starts the communication process. Receptors can be found on the cell membrane or inside the cell, depending on the type of signal. The message inside the cell gets passed along like a relay race through different proteins. This involves phosphorylation cascades, basically adding phosphate groups to activate or deactivate proteins. There are also second messages like CAMP or calcium ions, which help amplify the signal and make sure the message is loud and clear. After the message is passed along, the cell responds. This means turning genes on or off, making new proteins or enzymes, secreting molecules, or even triggering cell division or apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. Basically, the signal leads to some kind of action. Here are a few examples. Cytokines trigger immune cell division. Yeast pheromones start mating behavior. Epinephrine, also called adrenaline, makes liver cells release glucose. Ethylene ripens fruit, and the SRY gene starts milk development in embryos. Cells also change their responses depending on what's going on around them. Bacteria use something called quorum sensing to detect population size. Plants respond to light and hormones, and animals respond to stress or temperature changes. So environment plays a big role in how signaling works. Feedback loops help the body maintain homeostasis. Negative feedback brings the system back to normal, like how sweating cools you down when you're hot. Positive feedback pushes the system further until something is completed, like childbirth or blood clotting. These loops are what keep our internal system stable. Now let's talk about the cell cycle. Basically how cells grow and divide. It goes like this. G1 is where the cell grows. S phase is where DNA replicates. G2 is prep time for division. M phase is mitosis, where the nucleus divides, followed by cytokinesis, where the cytoplasm splits, and some cells are just shown G0, which is a resting phase. Mitosis is how cells make exact copies of themselves. There are 4 main steps: prophase, chromosomes form; metaphase, they line up; anaphase, they separate; and telophase, new nuclei form. After that, cytokinesis splits the cells into 2 identical daughter cells. The cell cycle is tightly controlled by checkpoints at G1, G2, and M. Cyclins and CDKs act like traffic lights, telling the cell when to go or stop. If these checkpoints fail, cells can divide uncontrollably, which can lead to cancer. Sometimes the system triggers apoptosis, self-destruction to prevent damage. To wrap up, cells communicate through signals to coordinate activity. Signal pathways lead to cell responses like growth or gene changes. Feedback loops maintain internal balance, and the cell cycle controls growth and repair. If something goes wrong, that's when diseases like cancer can develop. That's it for Unit 4. If you want to practice what you learned, check out cell2bond.net. It's all activities and review. Questions to help everything sick. Thanks for watching.